All right, welcome everybody to the Guild Community Standup this week with special guests from Little Nouns. While we wait for your co-nouner to join, I'll give a little forward about today. We are um, Guild XYZ, as some of you guys don't know, maybe. I don't know. This call is about highlighting Little Nouns as one of our early users, early adapters, and kind of see what building an NFT community is like in the space, especially that they have a very unique and interesting mechanism about their membership NFTs being released gradually, so that unlike other NFT communities who have a big launch and a big sale, a big minting event of their NFTs, so that the community grows with a big boom, Little Nouns adopted the Big Nouns mechanism of gradual onboarding of new users with their own little spin. So we'll be digging really deep into that as it relates a lot to what we really well know here at Guild, which is membership management and access management. I'm sorry my voice is a little raspy today. I don't know what happened, but I think it's okay if you guys can hear me well. And yeah, this call is also recorded and we'll upload it into our official Guild XYZ YouTube channel as always for everybody who couldn't join, or you hear something that you like and you want to re-listen, you'll be able to on our YouTube channel. And we also have a special little gift for you today from the Little Nouns themselves, for which we have some rules. Hannah, would you like to tell us what those are?
Yes, absolutely. So for today, we have, as Rika said, we have a little surprise for active participation, which means we'll raffle a little noun for our active attendees. And I'm saying it in advance for the Twitter Spaces listeners. This is for Discord attendees. So if you would like to be part of the raffle, I would highly suggest you to come to our guild and join for the entire call at the event stage, like the voice channel. So let me tell you how to be included in the raffle, like why it's important to be on Discord. The first thing is to follow the Lil Nouns on Twitter. And the second one is attend the AMA on Discord, because this has something to do with our POAP, which we are having for you as a gift at the end of the call. And this is how we are making sure everyone who will be in the raffle are the actual participants, if it makes sense. So this is the two things that you need. Follow the Lil Nouns now on Twitter and attend the AMA on our Discord. So that's all that you have to do, and the rest is on us. So after that, when
Um,
you
I think
sorry.
the raffle will be done in the by being also in the guild, Little Nouns Guild, right?
Yes, yes. So after that, we make sure the participants are getting their badges for the participation. We will have the raffle at the Lil Nouns Guild, which we will give you the links. All you got to do after that, after you claim the POP, just go through, just join their guild, the Lil Nouns Guild, and then at the end of the event, after a day, we're gonna download, we're gonna export the addresses of the participants, and everyone who will be on the list will be have a chance to win the Lil Nouns.
That's a perfect flow. So we'll also
Yeah,
remind you. We'll also remind you of the flow and the rules at the end of the call, so to make sure that we avoid any misunderstandings. But without further ado, thank you so much, guys, for joining us, and lovely to have you here. I think we could do a little icebreaker slash slow going into the more deeper things with a little bit of self introduction. So we'd like to know a few sentences about your background. How did you get to being a little nouner? And yeah, a little bit more about you guys.
Yeah, so hey guys, I'm Dot, aka Lil Dot. How I started, I'm a techie by trade. I'm a Swift engineer, and I minted my first NFT last September. And through that, I kind of found my way into loot. It was my second NFT, I think. Became a mod at loot, and through Dom found Nounsdale. When I found Nounsdale, I was just absolutely amazed by how novel their approach to NFTs was. They paired NFTs to governance and a treasury and an emissions curve that's one every day for the rest of time, for the rest of existence until, of course, something happens to Ethereum or not. But yeah, was really, really excited and decided to use that excitement to build something of my own, and through that learn Solidity and React. And then, yeah, Lil Nouns came. Almost by accident, just through wanting to learn.
Through serendipity of the internet.
Yeah.
I like the part that Lil Nouns came. So, but I think there is a lot to unpack there. So, how did it come?
So initially, my initial idea for Lil Nouns was to create to fork the one everyday mechanism and to create like a little version of a big noun every day. So like now they have one noun minted every day, create a small little version of that existing noun. But as I was like tweaking and finding ways of making that work, speaking to lots of nouners and nounders, and through that, and speaking to Adela Ducium, of course, and through that, we kind of landed on this idea that we should fork the entirety of Nounstar, because Adela Ducium said something really, really cool. He said that we could potentially become the L2 of Nouns' L1, and that there was the possibility that there's like this hidden appetite for nounish governance. It just isn't tapped because of the fact that, you know, nouns cost upwards of like $100,000. So that kind of urged us to like, okay, we have to make this thing, and, you know, through that expose as many people to this beautiful system, this beautiful crypto native experiment as possible.
How did like
the governance specifically? Sorry, may I ask you, like, how did you come up with the 15 minutes time period? Like, I'm very curious, like, what was the process?
Okay, yeah,
and also, like, around forming Lil Nouns, like, how did you find the initial core team? Like, who is going to manage the Discord server? Who is going to, like, manage the Twitter account and stuff like this? Like, how did you form the core team?
Yeah, so the core team was just me and Adela Ducium, and just us asking questions, asking nounders and nouners how this thing could work. And one noun holder, Jacob, CEO of Zora, he reached out, and when we were just, you know, ideating, he said, why not? Why don't you change the emissions curve and essentially like experiment on the emissions curve? And he said, possibly like 10 minutes. We thought, this is really interesting, especially to the point that there's like this untapped appetite. It might be really interesting to experiment with that. So we just went ahead with it. In all honesty, we didn't expect there to be like so much activity and so much buzz for Lil Nouns. So we thought it might be cool to just tweak and experiment with these parameters as we go, like as they may. And fortunately, it worked, and like lots of people really liked Lil Nouns, and we managed to, you know, be the fastest growing nounish sub-DAO with the most nouns held and the most amount of treasury in ETH.
So the 15 minutes So the 15 minutes was just arbitrary coming from Jacob, essentially? Like, why not 1 hour, or like, why 15 minutes exactly?
Yeah, honestly, it's just an experiment. He said, why don't you guys try 10 minutes? We thought, okay, let's go with 15 and see if we can, you know, we can reach that, get that. Do you want to say something? But yeah, I just wanted to add that. So even though the 15 minutes sort of almost came by accident through talking to Jacob and just thinking, okay, this would be an interesting experiment. At the same time, sort of the mission very early on was to try and expose as many people as possible to all things Nounish. So then we figured, okay, it's going to have to be fast because if we want everyone to have access, it's going to have to be cheap. And how do we make sure it kind of stays cheap is by making sure essentially that the emissions is as quick as possible. So that was, I guess, our intention on 15 minutes. It was sort of, we wanted to make sure that it was kind of cheap for everyone to be able to get in. But yeah, at one point it did end up sort of spiking to like 1 ETH each, which we didn't really understand why. The whole point was they would go really cheap and really quickly. So yeah, that was like why we landed on 15 minutes in the end.
And is it implemented on the protocol level to change these like parameters, or
yeah,
how do you think about this?
Yeah, so Little Nouns can vote to change that parameter.
Okay.
We've all kind of agreed not to, but yeah, we can.
So Rico, the stage is yours.
Yeah, thanks. Can I ask how the initial team formed? How did you guys find each other? What was the like initial forming process of that?
So Dot sort of approached me with the idea of creating this project in Nouns. So I followed him essentially into like Web3 and NFTs and then Nouns DAO. And then he had this idea of making like kid versions of Nouns at first, just as an art thing. And I figured, okay, cool. So let's tinker and let's play around with these Nouns. And then we created sort of kid versions, and then from there we just took it on and thought, okay, cool, let's make a sub DAO. So essentially, it was just us two sort of like trying to get this thing up and running. After we started to sort of mint the NFTs and then members started to roll in, everything started to happen bottom up. So people started to sort of volunteer and take their own initiative in creating different roles and creating different sort of things for the community that the community needed. And then, yeah, it sort of just went from there. Everything naturally sort of organically went bottom up, which was the intention, and then thankfully it happened.
That's very unique.
Yeah. There is a question in the chat that maybe not everyone is super immersed in the world of nouns. So can you, like, what's nounish? Who's a nouner? Who's a nounder? Can you give a few definitions around these terms?
Yeah, so I guess starting from nouns proper, the big nouns. Nounders are the creators of the Nouns protocol. Nouns is an experiment that couples governance, treasury, and NFTs together, where one NFT essentially equals one vote and one right to pass proposals in a DAO, and that DAO collectively, through voting and passing proposals, allocates capital to funding public goods. And through funding public goods, we can proliferate our meme, essentially spread the nouns glasses, the novels, the idea of nouns to as many people as possible. And Little Nouns is an extension of that. It tries to do that. It tries to onboard as many people as possible to that endeavor.
It's the mini version.
And who created? Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, I just wanted to comment that it's the mini version of the big one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And even the glasses are a little bit different. Like, it's clearly a variation of the main project. Who was responsible for the artwork? Because to be honest, like, sometimes I even like the Little Nouns graphics more than the Nouns graphics, because it's just, for example, my noun, the science head, is just so superb. And like, who created this? Is this the same artist behind Nouns and Little Nouns?
No, so Little Nouns, I designed the Little Nouns. So the original Nouns were sort of designed by Gremplin,
And then as a team, they landed on sort of the glasses, and they kept that homogenous through all the characters. But then in Little Nouns, we wanted to make kid versions. So it took a little while to figure out, but instead of just taking a big noun and then shrinking it, we decided, okay, let's give these characters like genuine childish features. So that's why the glasses, they look a bit different. They're very big, and the pupils are very big, sort of like wide-eyed little kids. And we made their bodies smaller, and then sort of we tweaked every single accessory to make it fit on smaller bodies, and essentially to make them all look a bit more childlike. So that was the whole point, to make them look like kids of nouns, really. That's why they look a little bit different, but they're still nouns at heart.
Pretty awesome. Yeah, congratulations on the artwork. I didn't know.
Thank you. I'm glad people like that. I didn't think people would notice the differences in the accessories, because I spent a lot of time tweaking all the accessories, and I really thought no one would even sort of notice, but people really did. They noticed that the accessories are like simplified and miniature versions, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're somehow very familiar with the nouns, coming from the nouns ecosystem. It's somehow very, very familiar, but it has a charm, and like to me, that was what really appealed initially. That it was just like nouns with a twist, and it also like democratizing nouns, which is obviously a very cool idea.
I'd also like to dig a little deeper about the Little Nouns community as an organization. So I know, the whole onboarding process starts with a purchase of a little noun that is every 15 minutes. Could you guys speak a little bit about how this slower growth or more gradual growth has been going for you? Obviously, the market and like the hype and the sentiment changes a lot. How that affected you, and maybe some challenges about having the NFT as the basis of governance and member counts and the core of your community. How is that?
Yeah, so could you repeat the first part of the question, please?
Yeah, sorry, it was a long question. Kind of the yeah. So I think it had like 3 parts. One is generally the community and how this slower but more gradual member acquiry every 15 minutes is going for you. And that was the first part.
So we were at the start, we were minting really rapidly every 15 minutes, and now it kind of has slowed down. The community doesn't really focus on how many people or how many NFTs are minted at a given time. It definitely has eased onboarding, in that like there aren't that many people to onboard at various different times of the day, which was something that was pretty pretty difficult to deal with, because you have like 100, you have like how many 30 people being onboarded from one side of the planet, and then like 20 people from the other side of the planet, and we had to set up mods from like various time zones. So that's kind of dialed down now. Aside from that, nothing's really changed.
So would you say that having this slower, more measured, more paced onboarding is actually making your the whole onboarding process easier for the members as well? Is it easier to set up this information and general like engagement when a person enters your community with a fresh new set of eyes? Is it easier for you to set up the onboarding flow because it's less of a crowded process but more individualistic? Would you say it's easier?
It's definitely easier, yeah. we have a resident Little Nouner that's in charge of onboarding, and also a bunch of we have like 4 mods that carry out onboarding, and they've systematized the onboarding flow through FAQs, and we also have a dedicated page on our website that, like, once you've minted Little Noun, you go to like get the rundown of how the community works and where to go. But yeah, it's definitely been easier for them, but we're still a long ways ahead, a long way to go in terms of refining our onboarding. I think we as a collective, Lil Nouns, we think that we can do better with our onboarding.
Do you
we don't
see?
think that we think that this is going to be temporary, not necessarily something we should get used to. The lack of, the reduced mint.
Rika, do you want to answer? Add something to that?
No, go ahead. I wanted to go with the other question.
Okay. Do you see Little Nouns as a gatekeeper into the Nouns ecosystem? So for like onboarding into the ecosystem itself, or more like it's for people who are already very interested in the Nouns and just want to get involved in some form?
Yeah, so we wouldn't say it's a gatekeeper, but more a gateway, sub-DAO. So there are lots of other sub-DAOs like NASDAO, for example, and many more that are going to come out of this tool that Zora built called Nouns Builder.
Yeah.
So it's not in our best interest, and it's definitely not something that we think about to gatekeep the democratized access to nouns through Little Nouns. But it's definitely something that we do, in that we have 8 nouns. We purchase nouns. If you've noticed, we bid on nouns, and we also purchase nouns from Nouners. We have 8 so far. And we also have meta governance, so that essentially means Little Nouners can vote in NounsDAO. And we're also working on something now to make it so that Little Nouners can have a voice in NounsDAO and elected voices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense. And how would you describe Little Nouns to someone who is not very familiar to Nouns? Like, do you think it's possible to get people into Little Nouns without before they get familiar with the Nouns ecosystem, and then help them getting more involved later? Would you recommend it to someone to buy a Little Nouns or collect a Little Nouns, even without getting really familiar with the Nouns ecosystem?
Yes, I think if we can be the first point of interaction for someone's journey into the Nouniverse, essentially everything related to nouns, then that would be amazing. And it's something that some of our community members are working on right now. In fact, it's something we funded. Essentially, even smaller versions of nouns, of Little Nouns, that you can mint for free and use to learn about nouns. Essentially, an education layer to Little Nouns and NounsDAO. That's definitely something we want to work on.
Awesome.
And going back to the community topic, so the second and third half of the question was, how would you say, is it a challenge to have an NFT as kind of the marker within the community and situating governance around that? I know you have a slow start, or a slow progress to introduce governance based on the NFTs. Would you say that's actually a pretty difficult process to set up in a Sybil resistant way? Is that very challenging, just in general?
Well, I think it's probably easier than, let's say, an ERC20 method. Nounders, they forked compound governance and kind of made it so that you can use NFTs, ERC721s, with the governance system that Compound created for ERC20s. And I think we have parameters in place to ensure that like attacks aren't necessarily as easy as, say, draining a pool of funds or whatever from like via Compound governance. But from a novelty aspect, I think it's much nicer to pair an NFT with governance utility, because every time you look at the NFT, you know, especially depending on like how the NFT is designed, you get it's the meme to what you're governing.
Agreed.
With an ERC20, you don't really have that like visceral connection.
It also makes it a little bit more personal as kind of having this image, very unique image as a marker for my participation in governance, for example. It's pretty nice to have that as a member of the community. What would you say NFTs, and specifically your NFTs, allow a level of granularity within the community to set up the roles based on them in a way that's good for the community and healthy? And would you like maybe think about more little sub roles based on metadata or number of little nouns that a person holds, or if they also hold a big noun and at least one little noun, setting up roles like that? I think I know your guild pretty well, how it's set up. I think we can be more helpful on multiple aspects. I would be interested if you were thinking about anything like that, like more granularity and more showing of your members' unique interests and belongings across communities. Would you be up for that?
It's funny you say that, because I think we have a new use case that revealed itself today. A group of panda little nouns decided to create like a mini political party within little nouns.
Let's go.
Oh my god.
They've created their own guild, and like we would likely make a role for them based off of the metadata. And I'm really interested in that. Something that we started Little Nouns with was a Nouniverse role for anyone that holds an NFT belonging to one of the Nouniverse extensions: Nas DAO, Nouns Punk, Noun Cats, Bored Ape Nouns. And one thing that I feel like we should definitely do is go through Guild with those roles and properly tokenize them, and through that drop POAPs for those respective Nouniverse members that also hold little nouns. This is something that Dom did with, Dom kind of opened up with Loot, where we had metadata bound roles, not necessarily on the Discord, but we created like offshoot Discords. One of them was created by a dev called Sharuz, the Divine Robe role, and I was a part of that Divine Robe community. So
that was
I remember that. I like honestly, like that inspired Guild.xyz in the earliest phase as well. Like we started focusing on enabling custom NFT attribute support for token gating, because we saw the boom of the loot ecosystem, and like the MVP of Guild, even in design, was heavily inspired by loot itself. So I remember those days, old glory days. But we have a question in the stage text, and Logonaut is asking, like, Little Nouns, how does Little Nouns compare to Prop House versus Tessera's Nounlets and versus the Nouns Builder built by Sora that you mentioned?
Cool. So so Prop House and Little Nouns are different. Little Nouns is a protocol where you can get exposure to the Nouns Treasury, governance, and Nouns DAO. Prop House, this is my words, I would say that Prop House is a really nice distillation of feature within the Nouns DAO and Little Nouns DAO protocol, which is capital allocation, except for Prop House being capital allocation via rounds. And it's really good, it's really cool. We have our own Prop House, Little Nouns Prop House, Nouns DAO have their own. And that's that. Nounlets are a really nice way to own to hold fractional ownership of big nouns. And that's all that nounlets do. So if you're interested in just fractional ownership, you'd go to nounlets. If you're interested in governance ownership of nouns through little nouns and like the ability to work through little nouns up into big nouns, you'll want a little noun or Nostal as well.
We have one more question.
Whereas Nostal was kind of focused to skateboarding.
Oh, very specific. Love that. We have one more question.
But let's just stay. Yeah, sorry, Rika, let's stay just for a couple of minutes on the topic. So and about Nouns Builder, like, aren't you afraid a little bit of like Nouns Builder spawning a bunch of like nouns variations and essentially like inflating the nouns ecosystem?
No, because
like scattering away the community and stuff like that. Like, don't you think that could happen? I'm just curious. Like, this is more like a provocative question.
Yeah. So like, Nouns Builder was built by Zora, and two of our little nounders are the co-founders of Zora. And yeah, so the nature of nouns and little nouns, it rests on this presiding idea of like nounishness and CCO, things being experimental, open to everyone. Mm-hmm. You fork the idea and you fork the art, and by forking the art and the idea, you extend the idea and the art to new subcultures, new people that might not have seen it if it wasn't forkable. So to us, that's actually, it's a good thing to see more nounish extensions. It's something that we actively welcome. And we've actually funded a few. We funded Nouns Goblins, Little Nouns Goblins. So a version of Little Nouns that, use their treasury to buy nouns and little nouns. And it's perfect. It's great for us. It's great for them.
Cool. Yeah, thank you for answering. But there was another question.
Yeah,
that was something that really drew me to. Sorry, just to add, that was something that really drew me to nouns. This idea that like, there's no such thing as like competition. We're here to like create win-win and spread this meme, spread like the glasses.
Yeah.
Around spreading the glasses, I think we have our last question for today, which is kind of leading us into our closing / call to action as well. The question is more about acquiring a little noun, and is it only on secondary? And if so, or if not, explain a little bit about the auctions. That was the question from the chat. And also, this on the acquiring part, how else can we support Little Noun community?
Yeah, so you can purchase a Little Noun through secondary. But if you want your proceeds to go to the treasury and use the proceeds for governance, it would be best if you buy through our auction. And you can find our auction on littlenouns.wtf.
And they still work every 15 minutes. And
every 15 minutes?
Yes.
Yeah, so sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I was just going to continue. Maybe you can continue as well. There's a little noun every 15 minutes where you can participate in the auction. And if you're the last person who bids the highest, you win the NFT.
Yeah.
And get to claim it. Okay, I think we promised 30-40 minutes for you guys, and I don't want to be disrespectful of your time. We're very grateful to have you guys here. I would like us to go into the raffle again, because I feel like we need to explain that again. So we'll distribute the POAP now for being a participant in the call. And then while that's happening, we'll go through the rules of the raffle again, so that everybody finds their way who want to participate and acquire a little noun. Hannah, could you let me know how the POAP situation's going?
Yes. Let me just stop the event on the pop distribution part. Pop up and I'm waiting. Okay. So actually now I'm going to send the embed that will let you claim the pop. You can see the stage in a second. I mean the channel in a second under the event chat. Yes, under the stage text, you can see now a channel which is called Claim Pop. And after that, I'm going to have the embed there in a second. And then all you got to do is to click on the claim button. And if you fulfill the requirements that we set up for the voice requirement part, you can be able to claim the pop. And with that pop, you have the chance to be part of the raffle we have. So let's go through the whole rules for this raffle. So as mentioned in the beginning, we have this little raffle for the active participation, and all you got to do first to follow Lil Nouns on Twitter. The second one was to attend this call on our Discord, so join the event stage for the duration of the call. And the third part is after claiming the POAP, which I will send in a second, you just go to the Lil Nouns Guild that I'm gonna send the link also in the stage text, so you will be able to just click on that, click the join button, and after that you will get the raffle role, and then your address after you join, your address will be in the raffle. And after a day, we're gonna raffle it out, the Lil Nouns. So you have the chance to.
I just want to say the Little Noun that's going to be raffled it's one of our Little Nounder allocations. So they're very hard to come by. Only Little Nounders receive these Little Nouns, and they're Little Nouns that end with 0. So
I hope I will win it.
Very rare.
To be honest. Guys, thank you for coming on stage. I really like this. To be honest, I would have way more questions, but we will probably continue it in private later.
Sure, yeah. Then maybe part 2 with a bunch of Little Nouners coming as well.
Or part 2, yeah, I'm down.
Yeah. Cool. Little Nouns take over Guild.
Yeah.
Because you have a lot going on, by the way, all those protocol upgrades and proposals. I read a bunch of different things, and not just on the Little Nouns, but also in Telegram groups of nouns. They talk about Little Nouns a lot, or relatively a lot.
That's really cool. Yeah, we've got a bunch of upgrades coming, almost like Little Nouns version 2, so to speak. But very exciting. Thanks for having us.
Very exciting indeed.
I have to say, Guild, you guys are absolutely amazing. Customer support, absolutely amazing. Just the UI, it's a no-brainer to use Guild. I know they didn't pay me to shill, but I am shilling Guild. It's really good. Love it. Yeah.
Love you, Das.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Where can we be on the lookout
Yeah,
for Little Noun stage 2 things? Where can we follow that along?
Just join our Discord, and you'll see all the things that the Little Nouners are building in tandem that will kind of lead to version 2 of Little Nouns. Yeah, our Discord, and also maybe just going through our proposals and stuff. Okay.
I will send a link to the stage text, so guys, join here. This is the Little Nouns Guild.
The link is also in the Claim POAP channel, so it makes a lot of sense. Right after you claim the POAP, you can get into the Little Nouns Guild as well, so you don't miss a step. And once again, thank you both of you for joining and being very lovely and shilling Guild and being very supportive and an early experimentative, super brave person to try Guild. I think last year even, or maybe early this year. We'll continue to jam on how we can more help you on the granularity and the new Panda sub-guild that formed within the Little Nouns community. And for everybody else, hop into their guild, hop into their server, follow along. There's a lot of things that are coming out. So stay tuned
And shout out to Shito, our designer, who created this very cool animated pull-up for this occasion. I just like that how it's animated and 3D at the same time.
That's really cool.
glasses
Really,
for
really
the
nice.
win. Okay, thank you guys. Hugs.
Yeah, thank you very much, man.